The English Couch. Hey everyone, welcome back to The English Couch, your cozy corner for real English conversations. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo. So glad you found your way here today.
Today, we're talking about something that sounds almost embarrassingly simple.
Embarrassingly simple? Already nervous.
Ordering coffee in English.
Right. I mean, how hard can it be? You walk in, say coffee, pay, leave. Done. Roll credits.
And yet, it's not. Because for a lot of people, especially successful professionals, you can lead meetings, close deals, give presentations in English, but then you step into a coffee shop in another country, and suddenly, you feel small.
Oh, wow, that hits. That really hits. Because it's true. You can negotiate a contract worth millions, but when someone asks for here or to go, your brain just stops.
Exactly. And I like to call this the paradox of modern simplicity.
That sounds deep. Go on.
We live in a world where coffee shops are everywhere, menus are simplified, technology connects us globally. And yet, human interaction hasn't become easier. If anything, it's become more nuanced, more subtle.
Yeah, because no one teaches you this in a textbook. No one prepares you for the speed, the accent, the casual tone, or the pressure of people waiting behind you in line. That pressure is real.
Ordering coffee isn't about coffee. It's about confidence. It's about navigating small, fast conversations where there's no script and no time to think. It's one of those everyday moments where language becomes very human.
And very stressful.
But here's the beautiful part. Once you understand the rhythm, the patterns, the hidden structure behind these conversations, it becomes easy, even enjoyable.
Wait, enjoyable? Ordering coffee?
Yes, even that.
Okay, I'm genuinely curious now. Let's fix my coffee anxiety.
So let's settle in, because today's episode is more than just language. It's about feeling comfortable in small moments that used to feel intimidating. Today's topic: how to order coffee in English, naturally, confidently, and without overthinking every single word.
And what makes this interesting is, it's not really about vocabulary. It's about how real conversations actually work.
Exactly. Because when you order coffee, you're not giving a speech. You're participating in a tiny, fast social dance.
A dance where, if you miss one step, you panic. And suddenly you're like, yes, coffee, please, goodbye.
So today we're going to break that dance down into simple steps. This episode is perfect for B2 learners and above, intermediate to upper intermediate. If you can already have conversations in English, but still feel nervous in quick, real-life situations, this is exactly for you.
And here's a little tip before we start. Don't try to understand everything perfectly on the first listen. Just listen. Notice patterns. Feel the rhythm. You can always come back.
And of course, the PDF for this episode is in the description. Vocabulary, quizzes, and reflection questions to help you take this from passive listening to active learning.
Also, quick reminder, if this podcast helps you feel more confident in English, subscribe, like, and share it with one friend who needs this. You know the one who also panics in coffee shops.
We all have that friend. And before we begin, here's a preview of today's journey. We'll explore the hidden structure of ordering, how to respond when you don't understand, how to sound natural instead of robotic, and how to stay calm, even when everything happens quickly.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's start with the first idea, and it's a big one. Ordering coffee is not a sentence, it's a conversation, and that changes everything.
Oh, I already feel called out. Because I used to think, okay, I just need the right sentence. Like, I would like a medium latte, please. Done. Perfect. Nailed it. But then they ask something else, and I'm not ready.
Tell me what happened.
Okay, I was in London, first business trip, feeling confident, suit, laptop, everything. I walk into this coffee shop and I say very clearly, I would like a latte, please. And the barista says, for here or takeaway? And my brain just stopped. I heard the sounds, but I didn't process them. So I just said, yes.
No.
And then it got worse, because they asked another question, and I said yes again. I ended up with a drink I didn't want, and confusion in my soul.
That's such a perfect example. Because what happened wasn't a vocabulary problem, it was a structure problem. You were expecting a one-line performance, but you entered a multi-step interaction. Think of it like a tennis match.
A tennis match?
Yes, you don't just hit the ball once. You hit, they respond, you respond again, the rhythm continues. Ordering coffee is exactly like that. It's back and forth.
So I was basically playing tennis, but I thought it was golf.
Exactly. And once you expect the questions, for here or to go, what size? Anything else? Suddenly, you're not surprised anymore. You're not reacting. You're participating.
That actually feels calming, because the fear comes from the unknown.
And once you see the pattern, that's where confidence begins. Let's go deeper into this idea. Every coffee shop has two menus, the one you see and the one you hear.
Okay, I'm intrigued, because I've definitely only been looking at one of those. The menu I see, I understand. Latte, cappuccino, espresso, fine. But the menu I hear? That's chaos.
Tell me about a moment.
I was in New York, busy cafe, long line. I finally reach the front. I order my drink, and then the barista says, hot or iced? I just stood there, because I didn't expect that question. So even though I knew the words, my brain couldn't connect them fast enough.
That's such an important detail. Understanding a word and recognizing it in real time are very different skills. It's like hearing music. You might know the melody, but when it plays faster, you struggle to follow it.
That's exactly how it feels, like the song is too fast.
So here's the key idea. These questions are not random. They are predictable. Hot or iced? For here or to go? What size? Milk choice? It's a hidden menu of questions.
So if I learn this menu, I don't have to panic anymore.
You're not trying to understand everything. You're preparing for the most likely things.
That feels manageable. I don't need perfect English. I just need the right expectations.
Exactly. Expectation reduces anxiety because your brain says, I've seen this before. And that familiarity is power. Now, let's talk about something that surprises a lot of people. Simpler English often sounds more natural.
Oh no, I know where this is going. Because I definitely try to sound impressive. Like, I would like to request a medium-sized cappuccino with oat milk, please. And people just stare at me.
Yes, because in everyday situations, natural beats perfect. Always. Tell me about a moment where this didn't work.
Okay, this is a bit embarrassing. I was in a small cafe, trying to sound polite. So I said, "May I please have a coffee?" And the barista just said, "Yeah, what kind?" And I realized I sounded too formal, like I was ordering from a king's court.
Think of language like clothing. You wouldn't wear a tuxedo to buy coffee.
Unless it's a very fancy coffee.
But most of the time, casual situations need casual language. So instead of, "I would like a latte, please," you can simply say, "Can I get a latte?"
That feels easier and more real.
Simplicity reduces pressure. And when you're relaxed, your English flows better.
That's actually a relief. I don't have to perform.
No, you just have to connect. Here's a moment we all fear. You don't understand what the barista says. What do?
Panic. That's step 1. Step 2, pretend you understood. Step 3, regret everything.
Very human. But here's the key idea. You don't need to escape the conversation. You just need to stay in it.
Stay in it. How?
Tell me a story first.
Okay. I was in a cafe in Toronto. The barista asked something fast, unclear, and instead of asking her to repeat, I just nodded. And again, I got the wrong drink. This is honestly a pattern in my life.
And what stopped you from asking?
Fear. I didn't want to look incompetent.
That's the real issue. Not language, but identity. Think of your confidence like a bridge. When you don't understand, the bridge shakes. And you think, if I ask again, it might collapse. But actually, asking is what makes the bridge stronger.
Wow, that's powerful.
So instead of escaping, use simple tools. Sorry? Could you repeat that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
That sounds so simple, but I never use it.
Most people don't. But here's something even more important. Native speakers expect this.
Wait, really?
Yes, coffee shops are noisy. People speak fast. Even native speakers say, sorry, or what was that?
So it's not embarrassing?
Not at all. It's human.
That changes everything. Because I always thought I had to understand perfectly or not speak at all.
That's the trap. Language is not about perfection. It's about repair. Like steering a boat, you don't go in a straight line. You constantly adjust.
So saying sorry is just adjusting the direction.
Exactly. And once you accept that, you start fearing mistakes. You start moving forward again.
And that feels like freedom.
Here's the next idea. English in coffee shops is fast, but it's also rhythmic. And if you understand the rhythm, you don't need to catch every single word.
Rhythm, like music again?
Exactly like music.
This reminds me of something. I was in Sydney, jet-lagged, half awake. I walk into a cafe and the barista says something like, "Hi, what can I get for you?" It sounded like one word, and I froze again. Because I was trying to separate each word, but it was too fast.
That's the core problem. When we learn English, we learn it word by word. But real speech doesn't work like that. It flows, it blends, words connect, sounds disappear. It becomes rhythm.
So I shouldn't try to hear every word?
Not at first. Instead, listen for patterns. For example, "Hi, what can I get for you?" You don't need to hear every word clearly. You just need to recognize the shape of the sentence.
The shape, like recognizing a song from the first few notes.
Exactly. Your brain starts predicting, this is the ordering question.
Because trying to hear every word is exhausting.
And unnecessary. Think of rhythm as a shortcut. It reduces the mental load.
So instead of decoding, I'm recognizing.
Yes. And once you start recognizing, your reactions become faster, more natural, less stressful.
Less stress, more flow. I like that.
Here's a practical secret. You don't need perfect answers. You need time.
Time to think?
Exactly. And in English, we use small words to create that space.
This reminds me of a moment in Chicago. The barista asked, "What size would you like?" And I knew the answer, but I needed 2 seconds to think. And those 2 seconds felt like forever. So I panicked and said the wrong size.
That's so common because silence feels uncomfortable, especially in fast situations. So we rush and make mistakes. But here's the trick. Fill the silence with simple phrases like, "Let me think. Medium, please. I'll go with a large."
That sounds so natural, and it buys time.
These phrases are like pressing pause on the pressure. You create a small space to think without breaking the conversation.
So instead of silence, I stay engaged.
Think of it like a dancer. If you're unsure of the next move, you don't stop completely. You slow down, adjust, and continue.
I'm not stopping, I'm transitioning.
Those small transitions make you sound more fluent, even when you're thinking.
So I don't have to be fast, I just have to be smooth.
Yes, and that smoothness leads us to the final idea for today. Let's end this section with something deeper. Confidence doesn't come from perfect English. It comes from familiarity.
That feels important, because I've been chasing perfection for years.
Tell me about that.
Honestly, I always thought, once my English is perfect, I'll feel confident. But that moment never came, because there's always something more to learn.
Exactly. Perfection is a moving target. you never arrive. But familiarity grows with experience. Think of it like walking into the same cafe every day. The first time, everything feels unfamiliar. The menu, the sounds, the process. But after a few visits, you relax. Not because the cafe changed, but because you did.
The environment stays the same, but my comfort grows.
So instead of asking, how can I be perfect? Ask, how can I be more familiar?
And the answer is practice.
Yes, but gentle practice. Repetition without pressure. Listening, noticing, trying. Again and again.
That feels kinder. Less like a test, more like a process.
Confidence is not something you achieve. It's something you build, one small interaction at a time.
Like ordering one coffee, then another, and slowly it becomes normal.
Yes, and one day you'll walk into a cafe, order without thinking, and realize you're no longer afraid.
That's the goal.
That's the journey. Okay, before we go, it's time for the word corner.
Our favorite part, but today feels a little more sophisticated.
A little more ambitious, yes.
Word, anticipate.
To anticipate means to expect something before it happens, often because you understand the pattern.
In business, we need to anticipate customer needs before they even express them.
In personal life, I can now anticipate the questions in a coffee shop so I don't feel nervous anymore. Once you anticipate the conversation, it stops feeling stressful.
Repeat after us. Anticipate.
Anticipate.
Word, overwhelmed.
To feel overwhelmed means you feel unable to manage everything happening around you. In business, he felt overwhelmed by the fast pace of the international meeting.
In personal life, I feel overwhelmed when people speak too quickly in English. The noise and speed in coffee shops can make you feel overwhelmed. Repeat after us. Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Word, nuance.
A nuance is a small but important detail in meaning, tone, or expression. In business, understanding cultural nuances is essential in global communication.
In personal life, I didn't understand the nuance of casual English in cafes. The difference between can I get and I would like is a nuance. Repeat after us. Nuance.
Nuance.
Word, hesitate.
To hesitate means to pause before speaking or acting, usually because you feel unsure. In business, she hesitated before answering the difficult question.
In personal life, I always hesitate when I don't understand the barista. If you hesitate too long, the conversation feels uncomfortable. Repeat after us. Hesitate.
Hesitate.
Word, navigate.
To navigate means to find your way through a situation, especially one that is complex or unfamiliar. In business, he knows how to navigate difficult negotiations with confidence.
In personal life, I'm learning how to navigate small conversations in English. Ordering coffee is really about navigating a fast interaction. Repeat after us. Navigate.
Navigate.
Word, default to.
Mia. To default to something means to automatically choose it without thinking, especially in uncertain situations. In business, many teams default to safe strategies under pressure.
In personal life, when I feel nervous, I default to saying yes even if I don't understand. We often default to silence when we're unsure. Repeat after us. Default to.
Default to.
Word, fluency.
Fluency is the ability to speak smoothly and naturally without too much effort. In business, fluency helps build trust in international communication.
In personal life, I want to improve my fluency so I don't overthink every word. Fluency isn't about perfection, it's about flow. Repeat after us. Fluency.
Fluency.
That one feels like the destination.
And also the journey. So, as we come to the end of today's conversation, let's return to something simple. A cup of coffee. Because what we explored today wasn't really about language alone. It was about how we experience small moments.
And how those small moments can quietly shape our confidence.
We talked about anticipating patterns instead of reacting blindly, about recognizing nuance instead of chasing perfection, and about navigating conversations instead of escaping them.
And honestly, that changes how I see everything. Not just coffee shops, but meetings, networking, even casual chats.
Because the principle is the same. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being comfortable with not knowing and continuing anyway.
Leo, that's a bit of a shift. A big one, actually.
And today, without pressure, without memorizing, you practiced advanced vocabulary. You heard natural conversational rhythm, and you experienced how English really works in real life.
That's something worth noticing. Not just finishing the episode, but what you gained from it.
So before we say goodbye, here's something to reflect on. What honestly makes you hesitate when you speak English, even if you know the words? Not what you think you should say, but what you actually feel.
That's a powerful question, because the answer is where real progress begins.
And when you're ready to go deeper, the PDF for this episode is in the description. Vocabulary, quizzes, and questions to think about. It's there to help you turn understanding into action.
And if today's episode made you think differently, even just a little, share it with one person who might need that shift too. You might be surprised who it helps.
We'll be here, in this quiet space, ready for your next conversation. And until then, be patient with your English and kind to yourself in the process.
This is Leo.
And this is Mia. You've been listening to The English Couch. See you in our cozy corner next time. Bye!